This is a sports catastrophe production. Hey there, Heather Ho there. It's Jeff Cutter and welcome you to another sports catastrophe birthday boy. And the birthday boy for today, August 29th. August 29th is a dark day for me, obviously, because as of this taping, it's 2.5 years since my dad passed away unexpectedly from heart failure. And you want to take the notes, it was February 29, 2020 when he died. So, yeah, it happened. A death on February 29th. Well, regardless of that, this guy was born August 29th. He's dead. But, you know, it was just shocking and all that. He was a British racing driver who won the 1976 F1 World Championship. After retiring from racing in 79, he was a media commentator and businessman. He would go through Formula 3, then Formula 1 in 1973, and then retired in 1979, shockingly. He became a BBC racing commentator and would die of a heart attack very young. His name, James Hunt. So James Hunt was born in 1947, in Surrey. And would, go through Scotland and Wales and all that. He was a mini racer. He went to Formula 4 at age 21 in 1968. That's pretty good. Then he went to Formula 3, which is a couple of tiers below Formula 1. So he looked pretty good. Sorry about that. Anyway, Hunt would actually go to Formula Atlantic in 1971. But then by 1973, he was in Formula 1. He purchased a March chassis. So he was with the March team. The team was initially not taken seriously by Hesketh. So Hesketh. It was basically partygoers enjoying the glamour of Formula 1. However, the Hesketh actually worked out quite well. And they actually James Hunt took second place at the 73 U.S. Grand Prix. But he still wasn't really driving that well. In 74, Hesketh built their 308 car. And it was very stable and all that. Anyway, the Hesketh didn't really have sponsorship markings on the car. But anyway, Hunt tried his best and all that. But he couldn't do anything. 75, though, he took 6th in Brazil and would have some mechanical failures. But he did win the 75 Dutch Grand Prix and took 4th place in the overall standings. However, Lord Hesketh ran out of funds and could not find a sponsor for his team. And Hunt was trying to find a drive until Emerson Fittipaldi left McLaren for his brother's Cobra's car, Fittipaldi outfit. With Fittipaldi now gone from McLaren, they needed to find a driver, and McLaren found one. It was James Hunt. A $200,000 contract. 1976 was one of his best seasons on record. Very dramatic. It's even in that. It's dramatized in a movie. Can't remember which it was. It wasn't Drive. I'm not sure. Oh, Rush. That's right. It was Rush. That was the movie. It was a good movie. Anyway, Hunt would drive the McLaren to 6 Grand Prix wins. However, in the first few races, Niki Lauda put up a great points lead and all that. Hunt was supposed to win the 76 Spanish Grand Prix, but it was disqualified because the car was 1.8 centimeters too wide. Gee, really? But upon appeal, it did get reinstated. Hunt won the 1976 British Grand Prix, but that was taken away because he went with his backup car, which is disallowed. And he was not legally allowed to start the race. The next race was the German Grand Prix, which Lauda had those near fatal injuries and all of that. Hunt did win that race. Hunt got to close the gap in the championship chase because of Lauda's injuries and all that. He did win in Holland, and it was a battle royale. Hunt and Lauda battled each other. Hunt won the Canadian Grand Prix and won the Watkins Glen race in the United States. Final round was in Japan. Hunt was 3 points back of Lauda and needed to finish third or better, in a sense, with a sliding scale of points. So anyway, it was a huge race and all that. The race was terrible. There was torrential rain. Lauda had to retire because of his facial burns, and he couldn't blink because of the rain. Hunt suffered a puncture, had to delay pit stop, and the pit signals were wrong. Fortunately, though, he did finish in third, scoring 4 points, winning him the World Championship by 1 point. Making him the last British F1 champ before Nigel Mansell in 1992. And he only signed for $200,000. He was called one of the cheapest F1 world champions ever by his contract. So, in 1977, he was supposed to be the man and all that. So, unfortunately for him, his car was problematic in the early part of the season. He did finish fifth in the World Drivers' Championship. It's usually hard to go back to back, all that. And then Hunt by 1978 decided to have high hopes to win a second World Championship, but he would only score 8 points. Lotus would steal the thunder with ground effect aerodynamics with their Lotus 79 car. All that. Hunt did not really have much motivation, but there was no test driver to solve the car's problems. And his inexperienced new teammate Patrick Tambay actually outqualified Hunt one time. Hunt was actually greatly affected by Ronnie Peterson's fatal crash of the 78 Italian Grand Prix. Because that was the accident that saw the inexperience of Riccardo Patrese, bump into Peterson, who bumped into the guardrail and burst into flames. Hunt did rescue Peterson from the car, but Peterson died the next day in the hospital. Hunt took his friend's death very hard, and for years would get on Riccardo Patrese's case. And all that. Hunt resolved to leave the McLaren team. He was high in demand, and he was actually persuaded to join Walter Wolf Racing, which was run by Canadian Walter Wolf. So Canada had kind of a team in F1, and it was Walter Wolf, a one-car team where you find an atmosphere close to Hesketh. But the ground effect car was uncompetitive. George Scheckter won the World Championship, but Hunt just couldn't do anything. He had a lot of car problems. Argentina, he had his front wing become detached, striking his helmet. Thankfully, it wasn't fatal. In the and he had electrical fault. Brazil, he had some braking problems. In South Africa, he finished 8th. In Spain, he couldn't do this so much. In Holland, he crashed into a barrier hard enough to bounce back on the track. He couldn't finish the '79 Monaco Grand Prix and said he was basically done for. So by June '79, he retired, and Keke Rosberg, future world champion, would be called in to replace him. Despite going into retirement, he wanted to promote Marlboro and Olympus. But according to a source, Hunt was badly affected by the Rodney Peterson accident, and his heart was no longer in it. Fair enough. So the car was just terrible. The Wolf team was like one of the worst driving groups. However, Hunt would be approached by the head of BBC Sport to become a television commentator alongside Murray Walker for the BBC's Formula One shows. So he did it. He was a commentator for 13 years and did quite well. Hunt actually placed his plaster cast leg into Walker's lap and drank 2 bottles of wine during the broadcast. Hunt regularly went into the booth minutes before a race started. It's like a guy that lived on adrenaline. In the commentary booth, there was only one microphone with the team of Walker and Hunt. They would battle for the microphone on a lot of things and all of that. He often criticized drivers he did not think were trying hard enough. In 1989, at Monaco, he described Rene Arnold's comments that non-turbo cars did not suit the French driving skills as bullshit. He would target a lot of people and all of that. However, Hunt did not want his commentaries broadcast in South America during the apartheid years, but he gave his speech to black-led groups to try to overthrow the thing. Hunt wanted to come back with McLaren for a year after he retired, but he only went $1 million. Alain Prost broke his wrist during practice, and he was not fit to drive. Marlboro offered $500,000, and Hunt broke his leg while skiing, so that broke that up. There were rumors were circulating that Bernie Ecclestone, who was owner of the Brabham team at the time, wanted Hunt, and gave him a salary, who wanted 2.6 million British pounds, but it was rejected. And Hunt was in financial trouble by 1990 because he lost a lot of things and money, and he was almost headed for the Williams team and all that. But no, it didn't happen. So anyway, he had a few other projects and all that. So he had a good relationship with Niki Lauda, even though they were rivals for the '76 season and all that. And James Hunt is credited with finding Gilles Villeneuve and bringing him to F1. In 1976, in a Formula Atlantic race, Gilles easily beat Hunt, and Hunt figured that Gilles had what it takes. So he allowed Villeneuve to take his Grand Prix debut with McLaren in 1977. Hunt actually was married in 1974, but his wife left him for Richard Burton, the actor. He met his second wife in September of 1982 and married December 1983, having 2 children. Unfortunately, that marriage would be separated in 1989. because of Hunt's adultery. But he found a new relationship in 1989. And proposed to Dyson by phone. But when he did, that was June 14th, 1993. June 15th, he somehow died of a heart attack. He was only 45 years old. It was just like, wow. That's just amazing. He had a decent legacy. He won the championship. He was a BBC commentator that was pretty good with Murray Walker when he wanted to be. Anyway, yeah, it was all there. And of course, the battle in 76 was dramatized in the 2013 movie Rush. So, yeah, he's a world champion. Should have lasted a lot longer, but unfortunately, time just ruined him. Anyway, I'm Jeff Diamond. Adieu.